The film begins at an apiary, where beekeeper Teddy and his autistic cousin Don are discussing a conspiracy theory about why the bee population has been steadily dying out lately. Teddy is convinced this is the machination of large megacorporations run by actual extraterrestrials. Teddy, a conspiracy theorist, plans to fight back against the aliens, for which he keeps his body in shape by practicing yoga and fitness. He involves Don in his training, confident that during the upcoming lunar eclipse, aliens known as Andromedians will use the natural phenomenon as cover to park their mothership on Earth. Meanwhile, their secret agents are already roaming among humans, preparing the ground for a full-scale invasion. In parallel, Michelle, the head of a major pharmaceutical company, is preparing her body for a long, productive, and happy life. From early morning, she undergoes numerous procedures designed to lock the beauty of youth within her relentlessly aging body. To stay toned, Michelle practices martial arts, while her specially hired trainer carefully lets her win. When Michelle heads to work at the factory, brothers Teddy and Don go shopping for everything necessary for their plan to save the planet from alien invaders. That evening, Teddy convinces Don that the operation's success requires 100% concentration. The man asks his brother to undergo chemical castration so that sexual instincts won't drain his strength. Teddy claims he did this long ago. Don resists for the sake of appearances, but eventually agrees to the injection, which causes irreversible changes in his body. As a successful businesswoman, Michelle records a video message praising her own company as a leading beacon of progress, inclusivity, and tolerance. However, off-camera, she is extremely arrogant toward her subordinate staff. After work, the woman drives home, where two masked kidnappers, Teddy and Don, are waiting for her in the bushes. Sneaking up to the car, the brothers try to grab the target, but Michelle breaks free thanks to her physical training. She tries to hide in the house, but Teddy pursues her, forcing a struggle in the bushes. Breaking loose, the woman runs across the lawn, but soon notices a syringe sticking out of her leg and falls unconscious. The kidnappers shove her limp body into the car, adding Grand Theft Auto to their list of crimes. Sitting behind the wheel, Teddy orders his brother to shave the victim's head. The Andromedians maintain contact with the mothership and each other through their hair. That same evening, the brothers dispose of the shorn hair, masks, and other evidence by burning them in a bonfire. Bound hand and foot, Michelle is placed in the basement of Teddy's house, where they apply antihistamine cream to her face. This also blocks alien signals. Meanwhile, the host explains to Don that aliens can be identified by characteristic features: thin ankles and fingers, ears, and facial structure. Then, before the woman wakes up, the kidnappers put on suits to appear before her in all their glory, thereby showing respect. When Michelle comes to, Teddy introduces himself as the leader of the resistance against the alien intervention. He explains his theory, according to which she belongs to a malevolent alien species. But the woman denies the accusations, explaining she is a big business shot and she will be looked for and found soon. To avoid complicating the situation, she suggests they negotiate immediately and part ways. Her words evoke laughter. Teddy doesn't believe a single word. He insists the captive must organize an audience with the Andromedian emperor on his ship, so they can agree on a compromise where humanity is not enslaved. The kidnappers hand Michelle a dictaphone to record a message to her kin and leave her alone. Watching her through a video camera, the brothers eat dinner. Teddy says the aliens are poisoning bees with pesticides, and this is just the beginning. At night, he has surreal flashbacks about his sick mother. In the morning, Teddy heads to work on his bicycle. On the way, he is stopped by a police officer who turns out to be Casey, an old acquaintance of the guy, who was his babysitter long ago. Casey invites his former charge over, but Teddy politely refuses, having no desire to continue the interaction. During lunch at the warehouse, Teddy watches a TV report about the disappearance of the pharmaceutical company head. In the evening, after returning home and checking the apiary, Teddy goes down to the basement to see Michelle to continue the conversation. Although the captive recorded the request for a meeting with the emperor on the dictaphone as requested, the guy is still unhappy. He says it's not even her native language. The woman continues to insist she is not an alien, which only angers Teddy. He even menacingly swings a chair at her, smashing it and frightening Dawn. When Michelle calls the kidnapper a sick man, he hits her. Later, Teddy again shows Dawn footage about the Andromedians, how they arrived from another star system on their elaborate and ornate spaceship, fittingly named the Fluggication. Meanwhile, Michelle tries to escape, testing the strength of the chain and mounted rings. Returning to the basement with new ideas and the shotgun, the kidnappers like Vladimir Ilyich propose a different path. They attach electrodes to Michelle, hoping electric shocks will make her a bit more cooperative. And to keep her inarticulate screams from annoying their aesthetic hearing, the men turn up the music. Teddy methodically and systematically increases the voltage, monitoring the vital parameters of the experimental alien. When her screams drown out the music, Don tries to stop his brother, but Teddy doesn't allow him to interfere. Only when the power cuts out due to the voltage does Don pull the cord, cutting power to the makeshift electric chair. A stunned Teddy realizes that aliens usually couldn't withstand that much voltage. He apologizes to Michelle, but not because he decided she is a human. The kidnapper realized she is a high-ranking member of the alien imperial family, hence the endurance. Wiping blood from her face with a rag, Teddy invites the royal alien to dinner. That night, the guy remembers how he met Michelle for the first time. His sick mother was enrolled in an experimental treatment course with a new drug developed by her company. During the day, while Teddy is at work, the captive takes a bath under Don's supervision, preparing for dinner. They seat her on a specially secured chair, buckling her leg to the leg of the chair so she doesn't run off before dessert. The feigned peaceful conversation at dinner touches the topic of bees, Teddy's favorite yet painful subject. Knowing his opinion on the true causes, Michelle says that actually no one really knows what the matter is. Queen bees simply flee the hives, dooming the swarm to extinction. In her opinion, conspiracy theorists like Teddy want to find a simple explanation and designate a culprit, like a secret corporate plot. But in reality, the situation is different. When Teddy again accuses the guest of killing bees and calls her an alien, Michelle suddenly remembers seeing him when his mother was signed up for the experimental treatment course. After it, the woman got worse and fell into a coma. Michelle's comments that such an outcome happens with experimental treatments slowly drive Teddy mad. Additionally, she offers help to the kidnappers, comparing them to the mentally ill. Eventually, Teddy simply lunges at her across the table to attack. He chokes Michelle, and she responds by stabbing a fork into his hand. Detaching herself from the toppled chair, the girl tries to escape, but the guy catches up to her. However, Michelle, showing miraculous agility, first pulls guard, then performs a sweep and ends up in full mount. Only a calming rifle butt to the face quiets her down. At this time, a police car pulls up to the house. Officer Casey looks around before seeing his old friend Teddy in the window. The cop asks permission to enter, mentioning he is checking the neighborhood in search of the missing corporate head, Michelle. Her car was spotted on CCTV in a nearby area. Teddy, unnoticedly, turns off the surveillance monitor showing the unconscious captive in the basement, guarded by Don. He answers the cop's questions, saying he saw neither the car nor the missing woman. Due to rules of hospitality, the host is forced to treat the guest, manipulating only one hand. The other was injured by the fork in the struggle. To distract the visitor, Teddy takes him outside to show his apiary. In the basement, a conscious Michelle, realizing someone is upstairs, sees her guard is nervous. Remembering that Teddy bossed his brother around, completely subjugating his weak will, the woman talks to him, trying to convince him that this is wrong and that Don is the one who can save her like a real hero. However, he believes she is a real alien and asks her to take him on the spaceship. To gain trust, Michelle promises to show Don the spaceship. Then he asks for forgiveness for everything he did, after which he paints everything around with his brains. The shot outside was heard by Teddy and Casey, forcing the host to beat the policeman to death with a shovel to avoid being caught. Returning to the basement, Teddy sees the captive covered in his brother's blood. He grabs the gun, accusing Michelle of brainwashing his brother. The woman swears she had nothing to do with it, but in the heat of the emotional moment, realizes she needs to change tactics urgently. She plays along with the kidnapper, confessing that she is conducting an experiment on her mother to restructure her internal organs by artificially inducing a coma with medication. To save her, It is sufficient to inject an antidote from a yellow antifreeze bottle located in her trunk. She suggests he personally verify this claim immediately. Teddy doesn't believe it, but Michelle convinces him it's true. Why would she lie if she's on a chain? Just in case, the guy knocks out the woman's kneecap with a well-aimed blow of the rifle butt to reduce mobility. Sneaking into the hospital ward, he injects the blue liquid into the IV bag and waits impatiently for his mother to wake up. However, the waiting ends with a predictable result. She dies from intravenous antifreeze without regaining consciousness. Crying, Teddy climbs out the window and races home to take revenge on the deceiver. Meanwhile, Michelle somehow reaches Don's corpse to fish the keys out of his pocket with her one good leg. Unlocking the chain, she realizes she can't climb the stairs with a shattered knee. Then her attention is drawn to a door, camouflaged as a wall, leading to an adjacent room. Inside is a storage of human remains. This is where Teddy dissected those he suspected of being aliens. Michelle finds detailed records of his crimes and plenty of photographic evidence. When the upset and crying criminal bursts into the basement with his gun at the ready, Michelle meets him with royal dignity. Playing on the character of Teddy, crushed by the loss of relatives, the woman learns he killed 2 people. Then she tells him why aliens look like humans externally. Long ago, Andromedians arrived on Earth. Dinosaurs lived here then. However, the aliens' visit disrupted the balance in the ecosystem, leading to the extinction of dinosaurs. Striving to atone for their guilt, the guests from the stars created the first humans in their own image and likeness. Humans worshipped the Andromedians like Atlanteans, but despite this, their corrupted nature took over. Time and time again, humanity tried to destroy itself, starting wars, polluting nature. The last time, only a small handful of people managed to survive by building an ark before the Great Flood. All this time, the Andromedians tried to change humanity, make it better, eradicate the very evil from their nature. It was for this purpose, and not for enslavement, that the experiments were needed. Now the Emperor has a way to end wars and cruelty once and for all, which was scheduled for the date of the lunar eclipse. This revelation turns Teddy's entire worldview upside down, causing him to finally lose composure and sob. The time of the lunar eclipse arrives. Michelle, wearing a wig, drives up to the company factory gates with Teddy. Despite Don's corpse lying in the back seat, the woman parks as usual, after which she and the former kidnapper limp into the office. This is supposedly where teleportation to the mothership takes place. While Teddy barricades the door, Michelle takes out the calculator, the teleport control remote. As she enters the secret code and waits for a response, it turns out the guy has a homemade explosive device under his jacket. It is the threat of explosion that forces the woman to play along and allegedly organize the desired meeting with the alien emperor. Michelle orders the kamikaze to enter a closet, allegedly a disguised teleportation booth. When he closes the door, she starts a countdown, after which an explosion rings out. Michelle wakes up in an ambulance. Emergency services are working near the factory where the explosion occurred. She abruptly breaks away from the doctors and runs off to return to the scene on foot. She sneaks inside, trying not to get caught by police. She's interested in her own office. Michelle retrieves the calculator and locks herself in the mangled closet, stained a blood-red color by Teddy's remains. In the next moment, she climbs out of the goo onto the Andromedian spaceship. The teleport worked. In space, it turns out that Michelle is actually one of the members of the Imperial family. She reports on everything that happened, including the loss of hair for communication, after which the Council, on her suggestion, concludes that the experiment with Earthlings has failed. When the Andromedians leave the Council chamber, Michelle leans over a flat copy of Earth covered by a soap bubble of atmosphere. With a sad look, the woman pops this shell. On the planet, all humans suddenly drop dead. Wherever they were, on beaches, at school, in museums, on the roads, everywhere. Only animals left without supervision survived. Dogs, cats, and even bees. That is where the film ends.